just called me a boy toy.
Yes.
It's a Joe thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's his thing.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's his thing. Yeah, that's how
New
you
kid
get
at the lunchroom. Boy toy.
All right, so episode 911 of A Tribe Called Colonizers just dropped. And right out the gate, the room feels different. First off, we've got Joe in the mix, and Mona Joe says she's coming too. And of course, surprise, surprise, Mona's running late. But we know she's been under the weather lately, so shout out and well wishes to her. In the meantime, the room is stacked with Mark Lamont Hill, Reese Parks, and B.Dot is back in the mix. Now hold up. Joe rolls in looking sharp with a fresh shape up, so you can tell he's feeling a little different today. And he even admits, I am feeling rather beautiful, which you know is classic Joe energy. The shape up got him looking clean, almost like shades on a sunny day. But wait, don't talk over B.Dot, he gets his shine too. Then Freeze chimes in when everyone starts talking over each other, and Joe's like, hold up, don't talk over B.Dot. Breeze jumps in with that playful energy saying, oh, you know how he gets when he's got somebody new playing with your new toy, and even does that little hand wave like he's teasing everyone in the room.
You know how you get when you got somebody new. Play with your toy.
B.Dot is like, I'm a toy?
Wow, I'm a toy.
A toy.
And Joe even says, yeah, we forgot how wild and disrespectful this room gets when new people walk in. Now hold up. Is that officially confirmation that B.Dot is now part of the Joe Budden podcast crew? Listen to the clip yourself. Joe even warns, VA, I didn't tell you, this room gets super disrespectful when new people come in. And then someone else adds, yeah, they blame it on me, but this room goes full foul mode when there's a new face. Now, on the surface, we know this is classic Joe Budden podcast performative energy. Every new person in the room gets roasted immediately. It's just how the vibe works. But here's where it gets spicy. Joe didn't just call B.Dot a guest or new person. Nah, he called him Joe Budden's toy, and that's an important detail. If you remember back when Mark Lamont Hill joined, they had the exact same energy. And if you've been following this podcast for years, you know this joke actually fits a long-standing pattern. They bring the new blood in, roast them, and slowly induct them into the chaos.
You got some nerve. Are you Mark? Boy toy. Mark. Your special treatment's over.
All right, so here's the breakdown. My guess is that special treatment era for Mark Lamont Hill has honestly been over for a minute. It was that whole Mona, don't call me white girl vibe that popped in and out, and we've seen that fade over time. But now, the real intrigue comes from how everyone starts reacting and playing off each other. You already know Joe Budden Podcast has a history of stirring this energy up. Look at the timeline. Originally, it was Joe, Rory, and Maul holding it down. That era ended, and then Freeze came in, adding his flavor. Not long after, Queen's Flip and Melissa Ford showed up. Then Joe started bringing Mark Lamont Hill in more consistently, and suddenly he's a castmate. Next thing you know, Mona is back, and now VA is in the room, again and again. If there's one thing Joe loves, it's fresh energy. Changing the pace, adding new perspectives, sparking debates, creating friction. So when Freeze jokes that B.Dot is Joe Budden's new toy, trust me, that line didn't come out of nowhere. Sometimes the room tosses jokes that are half playful, half observational, and occasionally even carry a bit of genuine edge. Could Freeze be feeling threatened, like he might get replaced? That's the question. One thing we've seen time and time again on this podcast is that B.Dot isn't the type to just sit quietly. We've witnessed this before, how he reacts to jokes especially. Remember the situation with Mano? They actually talked it through on the pod. B.Dot has a very particular sense of humor. Sarcastic, sharp, and sometimes a little biting. And in this instance, that sarcasm definitely cuts, making some moments land harder than others. There's even a point where Joe looks genuinely disgusted, showing just how charged these interactions can get.
His sarcasm was a little much. Mano asked him, he said, yo, you only gave really one bad review about a song, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, yo, I mean, you could have kind of kept it to yourself. Homeboy's like, nah, could have kept that bum-ass song to yourself. You're being disrespectful. Like, the sarcasm...
Or I'm playing with my man.
All right, let's break this down. B.Dot's sarcasm can definitely come off as disrespectful, depending on delivery and intention, and that's where things get interesting on the Joe Budden podcast. We already know some of the crew can't always handle jokes well, and that mix of humor in the room, it's a recipe for friction. Like I said in the last video, Joe hasn't been telling as many stories lately, so things have felt a little flat, but adding this dynamic could bring some real spice back. The JBP thrives on conflict, debate, and performative energy. You already know Queen's Flip is going to jump in and escalate, Mr. Library stands firm on his points, Mark Lamont Hill brings the intellectual angle and sharp jabs, and Mona, don't call me white girl, tosses in quick, witty comebacks. Now imagine layering in B.Dot's sarcasm. Whew, we're talking a lot of bobbing and weaving, and some conversations could go left fast, especially after he called Freeze a toy. That's probably exactly why Joe keeps bringing him back. Not to mention, B.Dot brings a whole different lens to the table. He's immersed in music, journalism, and interviews. He studies artists, tracks, genres, and eras, giving a broader perspective and honest critiques even when he's a fan. He's spent years sitting down with rappers, hearing the stories behind their projects. Remember back in April 2025 when he discussed his relationship with Elliot and where he's at in his career? That kind of insight could seriously elevate the music conversations on the pod. Like when they dissected R&B tracks on the last Patreon. Different takes, what's a classic, what's a skip, that's the kind of context he adds. But here's the catch. The mix of personalities in the room could create clashes. Some people take things personal, and on the JBP, you gotta have thick skin and know how to take a joke. Time will tell if B.Dot fits in, and more importantly, who he vibes with best. So I've got a question for you all. Do you think B.Dot is just stopping by, or are we witnessing the early stages of another JBP cast expansion? We've seen this pattern before. Someone appears once, then twice, and suddenly they're part of the rotation, mid-pod and across topics. And as for Freeze calling him Joe's new toy, it might have been a joke, but on this pod, the best jokes are often just observations with a punchline. If B.Dot can dish it, he better be ready to take it. So again, do you think he's just a guest, or is Joe testing him for a bigger role, maybe even a new show? If he joins full-time, who do you see him clashing with, and who would he pair best with? Personally, I'm already seeing debates that could get spicy and a few clashes on the horizon. But hold up, not so fast, because just as I was about to post this, something popped up that might be confirmation. Take a listen.
Yo, am I early? It's like first day of school, man.
You arrived early. Good to meet you.
Yes, sir.
Brother.
Good to meet you.
What's going on, B.Dot?
Everything good?
How you feeling?
Can't complain.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good morning.
You need a water or anything?
Water be good. All right.
ABP, they feed you well. Look at that.
Drop your